Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa Havers, and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs, and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode, we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs, and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership, and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. We have got an incredible conversation for you today. I'm joined by the phenomenal Alana. Hi, welcome, Alana.
Hello, thank you, Louisa.
So excited to have you with us. So for those of you that are getting to know Alana has lots of very professional credentials after her name. Alana is a CPA, PFS, CFP, serves as a cosmic prosperity activator. I love that. Guiding you to navigate the energetic currents beneath your work, life, and money so that you naturally flow in the river of infinite prosperity. Yes. She uses human design, gene keys, neo-shamanic energy work, quantum alignment system, TM training, emotional freedom technique, the compassion key, Atlantean gifts, intuitive wisdom, and financial expertise that you understand yourself, your relationship with money, and your prosperity flow. This is just phenomenal. I love all the skills that you've developed. This is incredible.
Yay. And it's a journey, right? Because it's still evolving. I'm sure there's more to come, as you can probably agree.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the joy, isn't it? As we're expanding, we get to study and learn more, and then we can share all that knowledge and wisdom, and it only benefits the people that we are working with as well, of course, and everyone that they're connected to as well. Well, let's dive into the journey before we sort of start to unpack our conversation today, and we're going to be diving more into around gene keys and the core wounds that you mentioned to me, because I think that would be really interesting to our audience. How did you get to do what you're doing today? Because I know there was a previous version of yourself before the beautiful version of you that I see in front of me today.
Yeah, so all the initials behind those just tie really to being in the financial system here in the United States. So public accounting, financial planning. And I guess the main piece for each of us to recognize is along the journey, our body starts to give us signals if we're on the right path. And ultimately, I was starting to feel that burnout, that exhaustion, that stress, that overwhelming energy that was just coming in from doing tax seasons here in the US every spring and then fall with extensions. And there was just so much more that I could see within my clients that was missing in the way of financial prosperity, knowing themselves. And then it started to come in to even recognize in myself, is this the right path? Is this the journey that I'm meant to be on? Or is there something more? And that's what just started to open me to realize, like, I don't need to be tied to systems per se and how to help people the way I was taught at college and university and, and then getting all the different licenses. We get really stuck on the hamster wheel of how we're supposed to be rather than who we are supposed to be and who we really are. And that just really opened me to recognize if I leave this industry, how else can I expand into supporting clients and really having them know themselves, step inward rather than outward. Because in the financial world, it's an outward journey, right? Everybody's telling you what you should do and what you should invest in, and, all the shoulds all over the place. And when you start to come inward and realize that doesn't feel aligned, this doesn't feel like my truth, then what is your truth? And it starts, we just open up that huge arena of, where do I want to go from here? And that's what I just kept following. And I still keep following to explore new techniques, new tools, energy work, all the things I was not taught to do in college, and then, licensing and all the stuff. It's like, where can we take this? Where can we expand to really draw in and make everything come together? Because they really are unified. They're all connected.
They really are. Gosh, can you imagine a world where this was like on the curriculum for kids at school, energy work and that kind of aspect, rather than algebra, which I have never used since I left. Even as a business owner, I haven't seen the use for algebra, but someone somewhere along the way will tell me that it's very, very useful. This is incredible. I love your journey. And one of the things that you talked about is how you help people with that, developing their own infinite prosperity. So, and of course, we're on Infinite Prosperity podcast. I'd love to know, what does prosperity mean to you?
It's really the umbrella of, let's just say, God energy. It's all that is. It's everything. It's your health. It is your career and your family and your relationships and your spiritual journey. It's all the components of, how do I just keep expanding to recognize that I am prosperity. I am all that is. And it's not outside of me. It's not something that I'm really seeking to go create in the way of like having and needing. It's already here. And when we can see that everything that we most desire is already here, then it becomes more of this creative, exciting journey of like, ooh, what else is possible today?
It is. It's being able to play with the energy and be excited, like we were when we were children. I
Yes.
think where we really can be in that flow state. One of the tools and techniques that you use, I think would be really interesting to explore more, is in relation to how we can get stuck and the flow can get sticky, is through your expertise in gene keys. And you mentioned to me earlier around the core wound and how that impacts money. I'd love to hear your reflections and your perspective on this.
Yeah, so the Gene Keys is ultimately an astrology-based tool. It pairs with human design. The creator kind of came from human design and came into Gene Keys. And we're looking at planetary aspects. Now, there's a lot of people that think, okay, you're dealing with the stars. This is all woo-woo. This isn't reality. And yet there is a quote that JP Morgan said, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Because if we want to really look at where we are on the planet, what is truth but what we've learned before? And that's somebody else's story, somebody else's interpretation. And somehow astrology got pulled out of it. And yet, when we look at the cosmos, we're looking at this macro picture. And the macro is just another aspect or fractal of the micro, which is what we are, right? We are the stars. And if we can look to the stars and see, what are the planets doing? What energies are they sitting in? Then we can also see how they impact who we be. So when we're looking at the gene keys, we are looking at birth information. We're looking at, okay, where were the position of these planets? And although that may sound crazy, it's so fun to be able to take someone's chart and just see it, right? It's a bunch of spheres, it's numbers, it's Chinese I Ching information. And I can just see pieces and share with somebody. And they're like blown away going, how do you know this about me? Because it's spot on. And so here's the main part with each of the spheres. They represent certain parts of ourselves. And we can absolutely overlay them on anything and everything, right? So whether it is our health, but our relationship with money or with friends and family. And so there's a particular sphere on the Gene Key chart. If you're new to Gene Keys, even if you've known Gene Keys for a while, unless you've really dove into the sequences that are there, you wouldn't know where the core wound lies. So it's something that I always share with people, whether they know Gene Keys or not, because it's one of these revolutionary parts of ourself that awakens or reignites once we learn and recognize it. And we find this in the sphere of vocation. It's a pivotal piece because it's the last sphere in our Venus sequence, which is all about our love and relationships. And when we end up at this core wound, it's a pivot that moves us into the Pearl sequence, which is where prosperity ties in. So there's a whole new dynamic of you're not here to be prosperous in the way the world wants you to be prosperous. You've already chosen for this life how you're meant to prosper. And there's certain aspects and components of, what's your best culture to work in? What's the way that you really can go out there and make money? And in the vocation, underneath the gold mine of what you're here to be and do, is this wounding. And most of the time we think, I don't want to touch my wound. I just want to lock it away. I want to box it up, hide it, create a new compartment in my mind, act like it doesn't exist. The gold is within that core wound. It behooves us to actually go deep into the wounding, to open it and see its beauty and its glory and everything that it's been teaching you. And what it's been teaching is that there's a part of you, the moment you were seated in your mother's womb, that you were going to have this wound carry through your whole life. And so we can see the multifaceted, just like a diamond, right? There's all these different angles and cuts and light fragments that come in. The core wound is very similar, where you're going to have people project onto you. You're going to have learned to take this wounding, project it back on others. You're going to have learned to treat it like a pinball machine and ping it all over within yourself, right? And ultimately beat yourself up mentally and emotionally and physically and all the pieces. But then you're also going to have projected it onto God, or felt like God projected it onto you. And then same thing with money, right? So now we can take every aspect of our life and say, wow, emotionally, I repress this part of me, or I deny, or I shame, or I reject, I guilt, I separate, right? So we can do this with emotions, maybe our sexuality, our ability to earn money to flow into us. And so when we start to really see this core wounding, we see that every experience we've had in life was setting us up to have the full 360 of every angle, of every facet of how we overcome, how we actually take back our power. And now we can use it in a way to heal not just ourselves, but each other, humanity, the planet, and the money relationship, right? How do we now see it that we can align with our true vocation to let this core wounding shine, because we see it in you, because I see it in me, and I see it in all of us. There's a lot.
This is so profound. I love it. It's incredible, and I love Gene Keys. I think it's amazing. So, and I know our audience will love this as well, because for me, woo is science. The two go hand in hand. And I think what you're saying here is being able to have a system where you can very pragmatically immediately pinpoint an area that's going to be having that knock-on impact on all aspects of life. I always say to my clients, like, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And it's that, isn't it? It's that aspect of it just being reflected back across all areas of life. And I think that, and I'm sure you've seen this too, I think, being able to coach and heal our wounds through our money story is so powerful, because we do project so much onto money, that it is such a good reflector for us to see actually what is it that we are holding within that perhaps is no longer serving us, and is an invitation for us to be able to elevate beyond that consciousness. You mentioned something around how it impacts everybody that we are in connection with when we are working with this core wound, and thinking about everybody's got their own gene key profile. We're all sitting here in the sort of murky soup, or the high soup of the collective consciousness. What's your perspective on, when one individual person heals this core wound, how it has that impact on whoever is in their radius, if that makes sense?
Yes, yes. So my core wound is rejection. And I really see that each of the core wounds, they're part of the lines within the hexagram. And I see that the hexagram lines are tied to our chakras. So the fourth line is rejection, which is fourth line is my heart space. So it's been one of those pieces where I can easily shut down my heart. And so what happens if I shut down my heart? If you come at me, how am I going to react? Right? And react is the key. I am absolutely not going to respond, because I'm going to be like, ah, and I'm going to lash out with a closed heart. I am going to be mean. I am going to have this part of me that is very rejecting of what I don't even want to hear what you're saying. I'm going to reject. So when I start to work on myself, and now I have this awareness to go, whew, here's how I normally react. And yes, I might get stuck in my head still, and it can be a dance of like, do I really just lash out, or do I pause? Do I take a breath? Do I resettle? Do I maybe even puff my chest out? Not to be ego, but to allow my heart to expand, allow my awareness to be here. And maybe I now respond from a loving place. When I start to have this awareness, I'm already consciously shifting how I respond, how I present, how I represent even in the world. And when I come across somebody else who maybe I perceive is going to reject me, I can still keep my heart open. And maybe I now see with compassion and this new awareness that, oh, I know where they're coming from. I was there. And again, you don't have to work in this area to do these things. This is for all of us to really just have awareness, because awareness already opens the door for healing and for massive change and accelerated growth to happen. But in this moment of me now having compassion, I keep my heart open, and I can be even more gentle or tender with this person. And that begins the ripple of, I'm no longer reacting. And if that gives you the experience to go, wow, I was really having a moment and this person treated me with absolute love and kindness, maybe the next time they're in such an experience, they too begin to open up their heart and ripple out that energy. And so that's what I really see is the work that you do in any area on anything you're doing. And it may feel personal and selfish. It's not. It's selfless, right? It's more, you're doing this because you know that you're now deepening the roots for others to be able to see you as this example and be able to lean in and maybe copy it or find their own way until they settle in. But that's the greatest piece of all of our journey is we're connected. And if I can already feel you're having a bad day, why am I going to lean in and make it harder for you when now I can stay open and give you some love?
Love this. I love this so much. So so everyone has their core wound, and if we think about as you mentioned, like with your one, very generously sharing your one, which is around rejection, and I'm just thinking about what the other ones are. People will be thinking, how do I find out my core wound, and how it impacts our relationship with money in terms of, the financial patterns that we see, whether we're somebody who's a overspender or a holding on to money because they think it's all going to, go away, and the fear around money. Do you see specific patterns of how the core wound shows up in people's money behavior?
Well, we can certainly see based on the wounding, based on, let's say, which line it's going to be in. And so if someone wants to get their chart, in human design, we look at it as the unconscious design Mars. And in the gene keys, we have basically just it coming into the vocation. I've got my chart here. So you'll find it here where in this chart, it's blue and red because it's this pivot from the sequence that I mentioned, the Venus into the Pearl. So you'll see it listed as vocation. And really what the core wound, we're focusing on the line specifically. So that's the decimal number. It'll be 1 through 6. And we're really looking at whatever this line number is to start to just have the awareness, right? I like to say contemplate, right? Like let it be out in the universe as big as you want it, right? That it's really just sitting with, maybe you have the line 1. It's going to be tied to your first chakra, which is where we love to have a foundation. We want to have a secure foundation because we want to feel safe and secure. And if you have this line 1, you're going to have the core wound of repression. So with repression, we already have fears that come in. And so this is where in our behavior with money, potentially fear is going to be your driver. And fear is going to hold you back. And maybe there really is this investment opportunity and you're like afraid to take that step forward. And so you're going to repress the idea, the thought, the emotions, anything that comes up. Basically, repression is just simply the moment it starts to bubble up, you're already pushing it down. And this is more the ego's doing, right? And this is more on this like deeper subconscious level. You don't even necessarily know what's happening. But when you start to heal and work with this, it's the honesty that allows for you to go, okay, I have this investment opportunity and all of a sudden I'm feeling really afraid. And maybe you even have the awareness that fear is coming up and you can even pinpoint the certain fear, like what if it doesn't work out and I end up destitute on the street, right? Even having that awareness, just allow it to come up because in that moment, you could get back to the present moment, realize I'm safe. I'm okay, right? This is just worry and anxiety and stress and all of this energy that actually has nothing to do with my decision, but the awareness, you become honest that it even exists, and then it begins to dissipate. So you don't have to stay stuck in it. But most of the time we just keep pushing it away, walling it off, acting like it doesn't exist. Maybe we're, feeling this fear. And then there's a part of us that's like, but I'm supposed to manifest what I want. And this is, all the stuff. It's okay to feel the fear, acknowledge it, love it, thank it. And that already will shift so much. So that's where you can start to see, okay, my behaviors, am I usually wanting to go for it, but then something just keeps holding me back and I just don't take that step forward. And if you don't feel safe, this is a line 1, it's very foundational. Maybe you need more research. Maybe you need more information and you don't have enough information to help you feel grounded in what this is. And then deeper, when you really know yourself, maybe your gut is just like, this is a no, this doesn't feel aligned. That's your truth. It's not that you're stuck in inaction at this point. You already have this awareness. You're honest with yourself to say, this just isn't for me. I don't know why. I don't need to know why. There's something in my body, my energy that is saying, go a different direction.
Yeah, I love that. Being able to have that discernment and confidence in making those decisions and knowing what you need information-wise to make an aligned decision. It's so important to listen to the aspects of our body where our body may be like screaming at us to not go down a certain route, and it's at our peril if we just ignore it and go down that route for sure.
Yes, because there's definitely times I've had clients that are like, I don't know why, but every time this thing happens, I get a stomach ache and and it's like, then don't do it. Like your body is literally getting as loud as possible, like punching me in the gut to be like, don't do it. And you're still questioning or ignoring it or thinking that there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you.
So true. We always end up kicking ourselves, don't we? If we found ourselves in those situations, like, I did know and I ignored it.
And then the blessing, though, is that was why you ignored it, because you needed the polarity. You needed it to slingshot you in a new direction, so that once you have this awareness, you can look back and say, I knew it. I knew my truth. And now you know what your truth feels like. And so when it happens again, you have the choice to either still stay stuck in that pattern or to liberate yourself, change, shift, and move forward in a new direction.
That is exactly it. I love that word, liberate, because it is that what we ultimately are all seeking, to be able to move through and navigate these patterns so that we can come back to our truth and to not be living by them, so that we're getting, going on all these detours. I know you've had a huge range of training, and one of the ones I wanted to ask you about was the compassion key, and how that fits into the work that you do. Is that a gene key aspect, or is it something completely different? It's just got the word key in it as well.
It's completely different, another healing modality, and I love it for integration work. So integration meaning a lot of times we can access these memories or these parts of ourself, whether it's of this lifetime or beyond. And we usually can have that honesty or that awareness, and we're like, oh, it exists. Okay, great. I accessed it. I know that I have this or whatever. We have to heal it. We have to actually integrate it into us. And what I've found is that the compassion key is really allowing you to connect to these different aspects of yourself to, there's inner child woundings, and there's, you can go into these different aspects of yourself and connect and have conversations, but using the compassion key, you can do it in such a way that you just keep holding the space and the energy, giving the compassion, and you literally watch mentally, or this aspect of you start to melt into, maybe it was this mad, angry part of you, and you watch it start to melt, where it finds its neutrality, and then it finally starts to shine, and it becomes this bright light, and it ultimately heals. And even that, we don't want to stop there. We want not that to be outside of ourselves, but I really use it to then bring this part back into you, and for it to finally really connect, that you fully accept it and you love it and you honor it. It honors you. And now you have this new part of you that's ignited, right? You have this new superpower that comes in. And so integration is huge in all of this, right? Because let's just say, if we tie it back to money, that you recognize there is this part of you, maybe even when you were a child, someone stole your lunch money, right? And then that was such a traumatic experience that you felt like the universe is constantly taking from you or stealing, or just when you finally feel good and you have a little bit of money, something comes up, the rug gets pulled out. We want to connect to that part, and we want to find out what really was going on. What was the emotion? Because if that emotion lodged in you and then impacted your neural pathway to react and constantly, be in this like protective, this is mine, you're not letting in the universal flow of prosperity. You're already blocking it. And of course, it's going to kind of keep taking, because it's trying to break down that wall. So we want to integrate back, honor that part, love it, bring it back into, so it's whole. So you now have this whole part of yourself again that is more attracting and open, and not feeling so scared and lost in, everything's going to happen to me instead of for me, and all the pieces. So now we get to shift the pattern.
I love this. It really is about accepting all of ourselves, because of course, from what I'm hearing you saying, just reflecting on this, that aspect of, if we reject any part of ourselves, then we've got that rejection in our field, and we're going to be blocking money flowing in. Whereas if we accept all that we've already received, including all aspects of ourselves, then we're really that heart open, being able to receive more of everything. Because so often It is that piece, I think, as people are growing their businesses from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond, that we may say we want to receive more money, but we only want the money piece, but not the additional responsibilities, the taxes, the larger amount of money, the greater visibility, all of the facets that come with receiving more money and being able to
Yes.
fully accept it. All
Yes.
aspects.
And to me, we can go, let's just say, beyond the money, right? It's nice to have it. We need it to come in, or we would like it to come in, but sometimes like we're getting to this place where, and maybe you've noticed, with everything being accelerated on the planet, everything is shifting. All of our systems are shifting. Everything that we've been in, and I don't want to say stuck in, but kind of, we're exiting, and we're allowing ourselves to fully expand to create and draw in, attract in that which we are. And when we think just in terms of money, we already block off so many other opportunities for whatever your desire is to come in, because we think, but I need to have the money to then get the thing. And I'm like, what if you just cut out and you could just get the thing, And most people are like, but that's not possible. You know what I mean? Like, no one's just going to gift me a house, but the universe is very creative and likes to play with you. And so what we ask for, we absolutely receive. And yet, if there's a part of us that already, and this is more the second line, deny, and we hold this denial piece, what we're really believing is that it's not for me. It's got to be hard. It has to be complicated. And that is a mind game, right? The mind always overcomplicates, but when we can really simply start being present in the body, the things that show up, there's already a knowing of, is this correct? Yes. And maybe it takes you to the thing that you really were seeking, and you didn't have to go the hard way and get the money and then go to the, to pay for it and all the stuff, but it can be easy. And ease is really the healing aspect of the line too. And that's the part where, when we're children, we don't worry about a lot. It's like, even if you grew up and there's kids all over, and there's, you go to someone's house, like maybe they're going to give you a snack, and you didn't have to worry like, oh, but I don't have anything in return, or I don't have any money to give you, and just all the stuff that we overcomplicate in society. But there really is generosity. And again, when we can open ourselves to receive, we also recognize that when we give, we're receiving. And when we receive, we're already giving, and we're really in that connected space of oneness with each other.
Oh, it's so beautiful. There's so much there. Just to kind of recap on it all from your perspective, what would you say would be the 3 aspects that you would recommend entrepreneurs listening take away from our conversation today?
Number 1, get out of your head. No one is meant to make decisions from the mind. No one. And the mind will constantly have you overthink and ignore the body, right? Because if we're here, we're not here. So to get out of the mind is to really be in the body. If this is new, and I work with a lot of clients that it's not easy, right? And I have a split definition in my human design chart. I used to live in the head. Hence why I was in the CPA financial world, because it's a very heady game over there. And yet to drop into the body is really that second piece, in the sense that the more that you're in your body, the more that you're connected to your truth, the more you can feel. Whether you muscle test, whether you just allow yourself to simply have awareness of like, where is this pain or this lightness or this flow that's happening? Because when you're in the body, you access your truth. And being in the truth, now you're going to have discernment. When you have these financial situations or opportunities, this is going to already want to overanalyze and, try and foresee the future, but reflect on the past. you're here in the now. The body knows. And the more that you're in the body, the more you begin to trust. And you can trust, and you're going to play with it, right? There's going to be certain things you're like, quite want to do that yet. And then maybe that becomes your new moment of like, crap, I knew. And it's one of those moments you can look back on. The third piece is really allowing yourself to be the child with money. And that might sound crazy, right? Because you might be like, when I was a kid, I just blew my money and I did this and I didn't think, right? You're wiser now. You can still implement that. You can have your buckets, and, you know, when money comes in, you still like put it in your account to save a little, and then, but find the joy. Find the joy and the play and in the money of like, how can we have fun together? Because a lot of times this already took the fun out. And when we're in the body, we can start to really listen. And maybe if it's like, ooh, would this be fun? And your body is like lurching you forward, like, yes, that maybe you go have, you're spending on something that doesn't seem realistic or practical, but you're allowing yourself to be in that creative space, play and have fun, so that new opportunities actually start attracting to you while you're there. And so get out of the head, be in the body, and really being in the body is just being present as much as possible, and then go play. Go play in ways that, especially if you haven't in a long time or you forgot, you reactivate those parts of yourself.
So important. Such wisdom drops here, Alana. Thank you so much. How can people come and find out more? I know you've got a free guide. Tell us more about the incredible freebie that you've got and how people can come and find you.
Yes. So you can find me at prosperityalignment.com. And the free gift is, even if you've run your human design chart or Gene Keys chart, I'll run both of those charts, and I have a free guide for your human design type. And then I have the core wound playbook that you'll also get, so we can lay out, here's your core wound, and you can start to sit with it and again contemplate, what does this mean? What is this really? If I sit back and look at, okay, I was the child who got the money stolen, you know, if my core wound was denial, I already felt that this kid came and took my money and denied me the ability to spend it or enjoy it or whatever, right? That you can start to look. And then from that moment, where did you learn to deny spirit or God from coming in to bring you the opportunities, right? We just want to look at it on every different level, every different aspect as we can. So again, prosperityalignment.com. I'm happy to run your charts. You'll need your birth information, but that's the gift I have.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on to have this conversation together for our community. Truly appreciate you, Alana.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for listening. Please do come and find us. Let us know what resonated, and do share this episode with anyone that you think it will serve. Until next time, sending you all lots and lots of love.
Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.